It started with a whisper, a late-night phone call, a name spoken in hushed, frantic tones. Necati Arabacı is dead. But powerful men don't just die, they vanish. They are erased, or worse, they are silenced. The official cause? A natural death. The truth? Buried beneath decades of violence, betrayals, and secrets that were never meant to see the light of day. For years, Necati Arabacı operated in the shadows, an untouchable figure whose reach extended from the back alleys of Cologne to the glittering skylines of Dubai. He built an empire on fear, loyalty, and silence. But in the end, even the most feared men bleed. His death should have been the closing chapter of a criminal legacy spanning decades. Instead, it became the start of something far more sinister. The details surrounding his final days? Inconsistent. The accounts from those who knew him best? Contradictory. The whispers among those who once worked for him? Terrified. Because the real question isn't just how he died, but why now? And who had the power to end a man who spent his life proving he was untouchable? The making of a crime lord. To understand the end, we must first go back to the beginning. The origins of Necati Arabacı are not glamorous. He did not inherit power, he took it, carved it from the underbelly of society, brick by blood-stained brick. Born in Turkey, Arabacı was raised in a world where survival meant more than just getting by. It meant understanding power before anyone else did. While other children played, he studied men, their movements, their weaknesses, their fears. By the time he set foot in Germany, he was no longer just a boy with ambition. He was a strategist. And in the crime-ridden streets of Cologne, ambition wasn't just encouraged, it was a weapon. His rise through the ranks wasn't meteoric, it was methodical. He didn't rush, he didn't make noise, he observed. He learned the game before he played it, and when the time came, he played to win. By the late 1990s, Arabacı wasn't just another face in the underground, he was the architect of an empire. He understood that true power didn't come from brute force, but from control. And control, that required two things, fear and loyalty. He mastered both. From prison to power, a criminal masterpiece. In 2002, authorities finally made their move, charging Arabacı with organized crime, extortion, and human trafficking. For the first time in years, the so-called Phantom of Cologne was physically restrained. But restraint is not the same as defeat. The world assumed his empire would crumble in his absence, that without its leader, the intricate network of fear and loyalty he had cultivated would unravel. But Arabacı had spent his life preparing for this very moment. He understood one thing better than most. True power isn't in the hands of the man who wields it. It's in the hands of the men who fear losing it. And inside those prison walls, Arabacı's control only deepened. He moved like a ghost, pulling strings from the shadows, his influence reaching beyond the bars that confined him. He wasn't a prisoner. He was a king ruling from exile. His men outside, they didn't waver. They didn't scatter. If anything, they became more dangerous, more loyal. Orders were given in coded messages. Business continued as usual. Money still flowed. And one thing became painfully clear. Arresting Necati Arabacı didn't cripple his empire. It refined it. But time changes everything. 5 years passed. The world evolved. Criminal enterprises adapted. And so did Arabacı. By the time he was released in 2007, the underworld was different. But he wasn't returning to reclaim lost territory. No, he was returning to expand. His network stretched from Germany to Turkey, from Dubai to Spain. He had become a multinational force. And this time, he was smarter, more calculated. He surrounded himself with people who could operate in his absence. Ghosts of their own, capable of continuing his work without leaving a trace. Real estate, luxury goods, offshore investments, his hands were in everything. The world saw a successful entrepreneur, a man who had left his past behind. But those who truly understood him knew the truth. Necati Arabacı was never just a businessman. He was the architect of an invisible empire, one that operated on whispered deals and unseen threats. The final days, signs of trouble. By 2023, something was different. The underworld had changed. Technology had turned once invisible men into open targets. And Arabacı, he was more careful than ever. His movements became measured. His conversations are more cryptic. He stopped trusting as easily. Those closest to him, his most loyal confidants, noticed the difference. He was preparing for something, but was it an escape or an execution? There were whispers. Whispers of money being moved in ways it hadn't before, accounts emptied, properties sold, transactions that suggested a man who was either tying up loose ends or making sure there was nothing left to take from him. Some say he had enemies in places even he couldn't control, that his past had finally caught up to him. Others suggest he was double-crossed, that someone within his own ranks had turned against him. Then there were the meetings, quiet, unannounced, meetings with men he would never have met with before. Some said it was a final attempt at negotiation. Others believed it was a trap, one he never saw coming. And then it happened. A sudden silence, a disappearance, and then the news. Necati Arabacı was dead. But dead men don't just vanish without a trace. And powerful men, they don't just die. They are eliminated. They are erased. The cause of death? Officially, it was ruled as natural. But there was nothing natural about the fear that gripped those who had once stood by his side. The silence was deafening. No tributes, no mourning, just a vacuum where a titan once stood. The world moved on, but the questions lingered. What really happened in those final days? Who stood to gain the most from his absence? And was this truly the end of Necati Arabacı, or just the final chapter of a story he had been writing all along? A death too convenient. Who wanted him gone? When a man like Necati Arabacı dies, it's never just a death. It's a statement, a warning, a power shift in the underworld that ripples through every corner of crime and corruption. But the real question isn't how he died. It's who wanted him gone the most. And in a world built on deception, violence, and silent betrayals, that list is longer than anyone wants to admit. Some point the finger at law enforcement. After years of playing cat and mouse, they finally found a way to take him out, quietly, without trials, without headlines, a closed-door solution to a decades-long problem. Others whisper about the cartel connections. Arabacı had powerful friends, but he also had powerful rivals. And in the world of organized crime, loyalty is often a temporary illusion. Did he cross the wrong man? Or did he simply know too much? Was there a traitor in his ranks? A lieutenant who saw an opportunity? A deal made in the dark, sealed with the ultimate betrayal? The underworld is not built on friendships. It is built on survival. And for Necati Arabacı, survival may have finally cost him everything. The aftermath, a power vacuum in the underworld. With Arabacı gone, the empire he built didn't just collapse. It fractured, splintered, torn apart by those who saw an opportunity to claim what he left behind. In the days following his death, his closest associates vanished. Some fled, some went silent. Some simply disappeared, erased from existence by the same forces that had erased their leader. The German underworld, once a kingdom ruled by Arabacı, became unstable. Criminal enterprises that had relied on his protection were now vulnerable. Old enemies resurfaced, new players emerged, and in the case, one truth became undeniable. Power despises a vacuum. His legacy became a whispered legend. Some claimed he had anticipated this moment, that he had set fail-safes in place, ensuring that no one man could ever fully replace him. Others believed his death was proof that even the untouchable can be touched. But one question remained, unanswered and unsettling. Was Necati Arabacı truly gone? Or had he, in one final masterstroke, found a way to disappear on his own terms? In the shadows of the criminal world, rumors refuse to die. And the rumors about Necati Arabacı? They are louder than ever. Some say his body was never seen, that no official photographs, no verifiable reports, no concrete evidence ever surfaced. Some claim he staged it all, that he had grown tired of the game, tired of the endless pursuit, that he had orchestrated his own death, leaving behind a carefully crafted illusion while he disappeared into the depths of the underworld, untouchable, unseen, still watching. Others believe he was never given a choice, that the ones who came for him were too powerful, too precise, that his end was swift, brutal, and absolute. But the truth remains buried beneath lies, buried beneath fear, buried beneath the very legacy he spent his life building. And so the legend of Necati Arabacı lives on, in whispered conversations, in the corridors of power, in the underworld he once ruled, and perhaps in the shadows, where he still watches. He was a king without a crown, a ruler without a throne, a phantom whose name still commands fear. Did he die, or did he disappear? Was he taken down by his enemies? or by his own men? The answers may never come, but one thing is certain. In the world he left behind, there will never be another like him.